Is there a war on Christmas? And does your small business need to worry about it? This is the Kawartha Small Business Podcast, and we've got business conversations for the Kawartha commute. I'm Brian Rump.
And I'm Matt Garrity from Matty G Digital.
All right. So, is there a war on Christmas? What do you think, Matt?
I think everyone in the media is telling us that there's a war on Christmas, of course.
Yeah, I think it's one of those fun stories that comes up, around the Christmas season every single year. And, some people get all hyped up about it and that there's some sort of, war on Christmas and you can't say Christmas. And, I think it's really misplaced because my super hot take is there's absolutely no war on Christmas. What do you think?
That's going to trigger people, Brian.
Yeah,
We need to put a
good.
trigger warning on the beginning of this podcast.
I think we do.
I try to think back on my own experiences with this, on like a war on Christmas. And I will say, like, anytime I've started a new job, even back in high school now, I've asked my employer, do we say Christmas? And I think every single one of them have kind of just laughed and snickered and been like, of course we say Christmas. You say Merry
Yeah.
Christmas to people. And it's never like in a derogatory, stomping your feet. We say Merry Christmas. You cannot pry that from me. Like, I will never not say Merry Christmas. It's always from a point of say Merry Christmas, say Happy Holiday. Like, we're inclusive here. We're happy to like celebrate every holiday. And like, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and I really think that's the reality of things. But, one of the reasons why we're talking about this and decided to do this episode is just because I'm kind of surprised. But in my experience in the Kawartha Lakes attending different business events, I've had the War on Christmas conversation, or I've been sitting beside somebody having that conversation like many times, like, you know, more than probably five times. And it's probably, aside from, blaming the municipal government for random stuff, it's probably one of the more common conversations that I've heard. And it's always frustrated me a little bit, partly because it doesn't really exist. And I'm not sure why some people or some business owners sort of fall into that trap of thinking that it is something that we should be worrying about. Specifically, I used to work for Bank of Montreal, and at one of these events, somebody told me that Bank of Montreal had a memo that went around every year forbidding people to say Christmas, and that is absolutely not true. I mean, we used to decorate like crazy. We used to, collect, money. I think Fenland Falls used to collect snowsuits for like children and stuff like that. Like they would do some charity acts. So there was things happening. There was no real war on Christmas.
And what does a war on Christmas even mean?
I think it's the idea that, if you say Christmas, people will be offended because they don't celebrate Christmas. So if you have somebody, usually it's an excuse for racism, like a lot of things are, where somebody who presents as being from another country is going to get really upset that you said Merry Christmas to them. I don't think that that's even real at that. I don't think people get offended when you sort of mislabel their holidays. I also think, if we look at Christmas as a purely religious holiday, I think in North America, at least, it's gone beyond religion to consumer, to just a festival of people enjoying Christmas. I have a lot of friends who love Christmas. They celebrate Christmas hard, but maybe at their wedding, I know some of them didn't want to have it in a church because they didn't want it to be too religious. So it's a kind of interesting cultural phenomenon that way, in that we will reject religion when it comes to some things, but everyone loves Christmas. So I don't think there's really that basis of you're going to offend somebody for saying Merry Christmas.
No, absolutely. I think maybe, like you said, an excuse for racism of assuming that people that don't celebrate Christmas are going to be upset that we say Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas. I've never experienced that. And I'm trying to think back, like the first job I ever had out of college, worked with a lot of different people from different cultures, and they never, ever, ever had took issue with me saying Merry Christmas. They were always saying the same thing, say Happy Holidays. I just never have actually experienced anyone getting mad at me, getting upset, snickering, raising an eyebrow at me saying Merry Christmas. I think
Yeah, and
buy into the argument of people saying that we're trying, and I don't know who I'm referring to when I say we, but that there is maybe the notion that we are taking Christian values out of Christmas and we're replacing it entirely with commercialism. That's fair. That's a conversation I'm willing to have.
yeah.
But the idea that we are going to war and we can't say Merry Christmas is preposterous. It's outrageous.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, that's a really good point. When we talk about other cultures and their holidays as well, I think there's the other element of when you say Merry Christmas, you're erasing other cultures. And I think if your tone is, you know, somebody comes into your store who visibly is of another culture who has a different holiday, and you reject what they're celebrating and try to force Christmas on them, I get that, but I think that's just bad for business to turn anyone away. If you're a small business owner, you should want to serve everybody of every ethnicity, every religion. If there are big, holidays, you should try to see how you can observe them or sell people the stuff for them. If it's a commercial holiday, then find out what a good gift is and put it in your store, right? Make some money from it.
Uh,
Welcome those people.
yeah, for sure. And you said something there that I always laugh at is when people will get, what's a good word for this? Persnickety about certain holidays. Valentine's Day is a great one. People get so fired up and upset about Valentine's Day because it's so commercialized. It's like, you tell me a holiday that isn't commercialized. You can get, hey, first of all, Halloween is not a holiday, but you can get Halloween cards now. You can get Thanksgiving cards. Like there's Thanksgiving gifts that you can give people. Christmas is a commercialized holiday as well. Every holiday is commercialized. Now, to your point too, like we should be celebrating all the holidays then. Like
Oh yeah.
from a commercial perspective, like if you're a business owner and you're trying to capitalize on Christmas, let's capitalize on Hanukkah. Let's capitalize on
Yeah.
Ramadan. All the holidays. Let's get into
Yeah,
it.
anything you can adapt to or, sell something in, find out what those holidays are. I talked a bit before about I teach at Fleming College often, and most of my students are international students, and the vast majority are from India. And one of the things I've learned a couple things from the students. It's been a really great experience. One is in India, there's a festival basically every month. They have like a 4-day weekend. They have big festivals. Like they know how to party in India. At Christmas time, a lot of my students, have their first Christmas here, and they're always a little bit disappointed with us. And most of them, they all volunteer to work any places that are open. So, like Tim Hortons or places that stay open on Christmas, they all want those shifts so that their colleagues can be home with their families and celebrating. And then a lot of them thought, oh, Christmas is going to be really busy because everyone's going to be out, they're going to be having fun. Because in India, Diwali, for example, which is their big holiday that's like Christmas, it's usually in, I think, sort of November time frame, is like huge, and they all go out, they greet people, and it's basically 4 days of parties with all your family, all your friends, and everyone. Whereas in actual Christmas Day in Canada is very quiet and people are, home with their families. So, find out about those other festivals. If I had a lot of international students um, who lived near my business and I could find out what all those festivals are, I would want them all celebrating by buying stuff with me. Like if I was a bar, I'd be like, all right, you guys want a 4-day party with all your friends? Like let's go. Like come to my place.
Absolutely. And Christmas Day blows. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of actual holidays if you think about it. The lead up to it is a blast.
Oh yeah.
It is the most wonderful time of the year. You get like a month and a half, a month of just like fun decoration, good music. You're eating a ton of like baked goods and other nonsense, and everyone, for the most part, is in a generally good mood for a month and a half. And then Christmas Day comes, and it's chaos, and it can be stressful. There's like traveling, there's family, which is good and bad, but like it's a challenge. And Christmas Day itself isn't that great, and then it's gone very quickly, and everyone's cheer is now into despair of how much they spent over the last month and a half. And their kids already aren't playing with the toys that they got. And it's so much build up and expectation for something that disappears so quickly. And not to use Halloween as another example, because I just said Halloween isn't a holiday. But the best part of Halloween is the lead up to it, the fun decorations. And you're watching scary movies and stuff like that for the month leading into it. And then Halloween comes and it goes, and you're like, well, now what? Now it's weird because we just have a whole bunch of dollar store toys stuffed all over our lawn.
Yeah. Yeah. It just looks funny. And then you're grumpy because you've been eating all the candy for days on end.
Just a hard sugar crash for days.
Hard sugar crash for days. So, anyway, so this, I think we're getting close to sort of exhausting this topic a bit. In conclusion, there is no war on Christmas. I challenge small business owners, if you've heard this, to just ignore that conversation. You know, embrace Christmas, embrace holidays, embrace what your customers celebrate, and, understand that really everybody wants everyone to have a good time. Like, people aren't going to get offended because of your holiday. Now, they might get excited to tell you about their holidays. So just listen, to that and enjoy it. And, understand that, people, one common thing we all in the world have is we love festivals, we love family, we love friends, and we want to have that kind of fun. Anything else?
I
Do
guess
you think?
I guess I'll just sort of wrap it up and summarize. You heard it here first from Brian Rump that the elitist, leftist propaganda media is feeding us this nonsense that there is a war on Christmas, and you can file any complaints directly to Brian Rump.
Right. Well, that sounds like something that we should definitely pull and promote on this episode. So if you have any comments on this, please keep them to yourself. We're not, going to discuss this a whole lot more. But if you have an idea for an episode, you want to join us on an episode, please send us an email to setitup@kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca. And that sounds like an episode to me. Thank you very much for listening.